literally, scriptures is saying that you can cease from sin. Do you know what that means? Like there's a formula, if I may use the word. There's a principle that if you embody, you would cease from sin. What is this armor? What's the ammunition? What's the armor that we need in order to conquer sin so much that we can cease from sin? It is a mindset, first and foremost, but it's a mindset that has to do with suffering with regards to sin. 1 Peter chapter 4 verse 1. Since Christ suffered for us in the flesh, now arm yourselves also with what? The same mind. Do you understand the language of arm? To arm. That's where we get the word ammunition. And scripture says, because Jesus is suffered for us in the flesh. The admonition, the instruction is what? Arm yourselves likewise with what? The same gun. What's the gun in question? What's the ammunition in question? It's a mind. Arm yourselves likewise with the same mind. That means that in Jesus there was a mind, there was a mindset that helped him to live the life that he lived. And they're saying that that mindset is an ammunition. It's your armory. And they said you should arm yourself likewise with the same mind. Read on, ma'am. For he who has suffered in the flesh has ceased from sin. Let me explain that to you. The reason they said you should arm yourself with the same mind, remember they said Jesus Christ has suffered for us in the flesh. Okay? And they now said, arm yourselves likewise with the same mind. What is the mind? There's this mindset about suffering. Because Jesus is suffered for us in the flesh, he suffered for us in the flesh. Arm yourselves likewise with the same mind. Why? Because he who has suffered in the flesh has ceased from sin. So the armor in question has something to do with the mind, and it is a mind or a mindset in relation to suffering. Because Jesus is suffered for us in the flesh, and they said you likewise should arm yourself with the same mind. What mind? The mind concerning suffering. Because anyone who has suffered in the flesh has ceased from sin. Know what that means? What this means is that there's a mindset towards sin, towards suffering, that is helpful in overcoming sin. Let me explain this. So Jesus suffered in the flesh, and because he has suffered, they said that's a mindset that you should arm yourselves also with. Arm yourselves likewise with the same mindset, because he who has suffered in the flesh has ceased from sin. In simple English, it simply means that if you are not afraid to suffer, you will not sin. That's all it means. There's an armor of the mind. Hey sister, stay awake, stay awake, stay with me. There's an armor of the mind. You need to get this. There's an armor of the mind. And that armor of the mind is a mindset. That there is a mindset that is an ammunition against sin. What's this mindset? It's a mindset that is not afraid of suffering. Because Jesus suffered in the flesh. And they say, arm yourselves with the same likewise. The same mindset. With the same mind. Because anyone who has suffered has ceased from sin. It's still King James verbiage. It just means that anybody who is not afraid of suffering will not sin. Why? Because the allure, the attractiveness of any and every sin you would ever be tempted to commit is usually in the suffering that the sin promises to save you from. Every time you are tempted to sin, there is a suffering that you are going to avoid. If you commit the sin, that's what makes the sin attractive. The attraction of sin is usually the suffering that sin would promise to deliver you from if you embrace it. So, if you are not afraid to suffer, sin has lost its bargaining power. Like, if you don't do that, you're going to be broke, okay? And then if you are broke, you are going to look very different. And then it's like, okay, so yeah. So what next? Like, but then that means that people are going to look down on you like, yeah, so what? So what? You need to learn the so what. Like, so what? So what? Like, you're going to look very different from all your mates. So what? So what? Name it. Whether it's tending towards material or, why do people commit immorality? It's pleasure. It's because sin is promising you pleasure. But if you have a mindset that is adapted to suffering, to say, I will suffer whatever the pain of abstinence is, whatever the pain of celibacy,